Shona Bhattacharya there with that report. Flo is here on set, delighted to say. Going to have a look at ever at this time at what is grabbing the headlines here in France. And there's lots of focus today, isn't there, Flo, on this cabinet meeting. Minister's going to discuss a bill on reforming the Code of Criminal Procedure. And it's the fifth such bill in 5 years.
That's right, reforming the Code of Criminal Procedure. Not going to lie, it sounds pretty dry.
It does.
But it is causing quite a stir within the justice world. And L'Humanité, the communist paper, is very much against this bill. It says judges, and it points out that judges themselves are refusing to be sidelined by this reform. Now, the whole point of the bill, and you can read more about it in L'Humanité, is to reinforce France's anti-terrorism arsenal outside of the state of emergency. And it includes things like making it easier for French police officers to use their weapons, also keep their weapons on them when they're off duty. So all sorts of measures to reinforce the police. But according to L'Humanité in its editorial, it's going to give more power to the police, but less power to the justice system. And so this is why the very basis of our democracy is under threat, according to L'Humanité.
And the government's also drawing ongoing criticism as well for wanting to write into the constitution this measure to strip dual nationals convicted of terrorism of their nationality.
That's right, another controversial measure coming from our socialist government. Now, this measure is drawing criticism from the left, and it's also starting to draw criticism from the right as well. And you can read more about it in Les Echos, the business paper, that points out that it's drawing so much opposition across the political spectrum that it's unclear whether a majority of MPs will actually back this measure when it's discussed in Parliament next week. You can see here, Les Echos is saying that the government's plan to change the constitution is turning into a quagmire for the government. And Le Figaro, the right-wing paper, agrees. It says that things are getting so bad for the President François Hollande that it seems like his worst-case scenario is starting to look like a possibility. And what is that worst-case scenario? Well, it says that he would perhaps have to abandon this project altogether, and he's been talking about it for months, ever since the attacks last November in Paris. Now, according to Le Figaro, the president and the government seem to be caught in quicksand with this measure to strip dual nationals of their citizenship if they are convicted of terrorism. Every single move they make seems to sink them down further and further into this quicksand, into this quagmire. They're trying to get out, trying to find ways to get out, but they're just getting stuck. And because of all this, the outcome is very uncertain.
Flo's word of the day seems to be criticism. We've got Sabor as well. François Hollande, he's drawn criticism for treading on the right wing's turf. Some wondering even whether he's still a socialist.
That's right. He certainly seems to be championing traditionally right-wing ideas, like this idea to strip dual nationals of their citizenship if they're convicted of terrorism. I love the front page of L'Opinion today. It's one of my favorite front pages in a while. Will Hollande end up on the right? And you can see they've drawn Hollande as Goldilocks, who's found a very comfortable bed, has fallen fast asleep in this bed, which is the right. And who are the three bears? Well, I guess you could say the three bears, the three main bears within the opposition Les Républicains party. You have got the little bear is Nicolas Sarkozy, the big bear is Alain Juppé, and the middle bear is François Fillon. They don't seem that thrilled to be finding François Hollande in their bed. And L'Opinion says that by stealing ideas from the right, Hollande has managed to destabilize the right, which is perhaps exactly what he wants, but he's also managed to really divide the left. And it's unclear whether this is just a very smart political strategy or if this is a real policy that he's trying to be efficient about. It's very unclear, and he's confusing everyone in the process.
Great cartoon. No porridge for any of them, I think. Something completely different now. Le Figaro, they're focusing on radical Islam here in France.
That's right. Le Figaro has sounded the alarm today with this figure. 8,250 individuals have been flagged down as radical Islamists in France. These are figures from the Ministry of the Interior. And in fact, inside Le Figaro has a map showing where these individuals find themselves on the French territory. And you can see, if we take a look at this map, you can see the darker bits are where there's a higher concentration. You can see a lot in the capital and around the capital, and then in the northeast around near the border with Belgium, and then various other pockets. Le Figaro says that this radicalization is really spreading in France. It talks about a contagion that's touching more and more teenagers. 8,250 individuals that, according to Le Figaro, are human ticking time bombs. That's the way it refers to them in its editorial today. And Le Figaro is very much alarmed by this and calling for more action from authorities.
Libération, they're focusing on a different kind of spread. This is the mosquito-borne virus Zika.
That's right. Let's take a look at the front page of Libération. Quite alarming. Here is the enemy, and you can see a photo of a very scary-looking mosquito. Zika is on the verge of turning into a massive pandemic, and they interview an epidemiologist, Norbert Gwald, who says that this fear that this virus has raised is really an age-old fear. We tend to fear viruses much more than the reality of what it is because we don't know that much about them. But let's end on a positive note, shall we? Let's take a look at the front page of Le Parisien today that says that we are getting better and better at curing cancer. According to a recent study, chances of survival and life expectancy have improved dramatically for 50 types of cancer, mainly because we're better at screening cancer in its early stages. So prevention is better than a cure.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Flo. At least there's something to cheer us up after all the rest of it, with the papers.